I used to deliver pizzas for a local place about 20 minutes outside of town. Not a chain, just one of those mom-and-pop joints with a flickering neon sign and a cracked tile floor that always smelled like garlic and burnt cheese. I worked nights. Tips were better, and honestly, I preferred driving around to standing behind the counter. Anyway, this happened last fall, late October. The kind of night where the air's got that first real bite in it. It was already close to 10:30 p.m., and I was about to clock out when the boss, Leo, called me over with a ticket in his hand. "Last one," he said. "Guy tipped online, cash already handled. Just drop it off and you're done." The address wasn't too far. An apartment complex I'd been to maybe once or twice, called The Pines. Kind of rundown, tucked back behind a gas station and half surrounded by woods. You know the type. Half the outside lights don't work, and the parking lot always looks like it hasn't seen a snowplow in a decade. The ticket said Unit B206, name C. Delaney. I remember it clearly because the B units were in the back, and to get to them you had to go up this narrow staircase behind the main building. I'd only ever delivered to the A units before. I pulled in, left the car running like I always do, and grabbed the pizza from the passenger seat. It was a single large pepperoni. Nothing special. But when I got to the stairs, I noticed something weird. The whole back side of the building was quiet. And I mean dead quiet. No TVs, no muffled arguments, no dogs barking, no footsteps. Just wind rustling the trees. The stairwell lights were off, too. Not flickering, off. Like someone killed the breaker. I hesitated. Thought about calling the number on the ticket to have the guy meet me outside, but Leo hated when we did that. "Don't make it harder than it needs to be," he always said. So I went up. 2 flights, with steps creaking like they hadn't been stepped on in weeks. At the top, the hallway stretched left and right. The walls were this yellowed white, stained in places with what looked like old water damage. And again, total silence. I found 206 about halfway down the hall. The number was on a metal plaque, slightly crooked, and there was a faint smell in the air, like something sweet, but off. Rotten fruit, maybe? Or flowers that had been sitting in a vase too long. I knocked. Nothing. Waited 10 seconds. Knocked again, louder. "Pizza delivery for Delaney!" Still nothing. Just when I was about to say screw it and head back, the door clicked. It didn't open all the way, just cracked an inch, enough for me to see a shadow on the other side. Not a person, just a dark shape standing still, just beyond the light. See, Delaney?" I asked. A voice answered. Low. Raspy. "Come in." I blinked. I'm just here to drop off." The voice cut me off. "Come in." Doors open. Something in the way they said it. It didn't sound like a suggestion. I should have walked away. I knew something was off. I could feel it, like static crawling over my skin, making the hairs on my arms stand up. But there's this weird thing that happens in moments like that, where you second-guess yourself. You tell yourself you're being dramatic. That it's late, you're tired, and your brain's just playing tricks on you. So, like an idiot, I pushed the door open. It swung inward without a sound. No squeak, no creak. Just this quiet, smooth motion like it had been oiled recently. The apartment inside was dimly lit, mostly from a lamp in the corner of the living room casting a soft, orange glow. The blinds were shut tight, and all the furniture looked off. Not messy but sparse. There was a couch, a single chair, no TV. Just this low coffee table in the center of the room with an old rotary phone sitting on it. The kind you don't really see anymore. "Hello?" I called out, still standing in the doorway. No answer. I took one step inside. Immediately, the smell hit me harder. Not just that sickly sweet rot, but something under it, metallic, sharp. Like pennies soaked in vinegar. I set the pizza down on the table near the door and turned to leave. That was it. I did my part, I was done. Then the voice came again. Closer this time. "Can you bring it to me?" It was coming from down the hall, past the living room, where the light didn't quite reach. I froze. Part of me wanted to say, "Nope, I'm out." But something about the way the voice sounded, dry, like it hadn't spoken in days, it wasn't threatening. It just sounded tired. So again, I ignored every alarm bell in my head and picked up the pizza box. "I'm coming back now," I said, stepping toward the hallway. It was narrow, walls lined with these faded black and white photos. All of them in mismatched frames. The kind of photos you'd find in a thrift store, kids in old-timey clothes, unsmiling adults sitting stiff in chairs. No one I recognized. All of them had this strange, washed-out look, like the light had been sucked from the images. At the end of the hall, there were 2 doors, one open, one closed. The open one was the bathroom. Light off, mirror cracked, toilet lit up. The closed one. I knew that's where the voice had come from. "Mr. Delaney?" I asked. Another pause. Then, faintly, "Yes." I stood there, staring at the door, still holding the box. And that's when I saw it. Down near the bottom of the door, about 2 inches of space between the wood and the floor, I saw fingers. Pale ones. Laid flat against the carpet like whoever was inside was lying down. Just waiting. I wish I could say I ran. I wanted to. But there's this thing about fear, it doesn't always hit like a burst of adrenaline. Sometimes it just freezes you. Like your body knows something's wrong but hasn't figured out how to react yet. That was me. Standing there, holding a goddamn pizza box, staring at fingers under a door like I'd glitched out of reality. They didn't move. Just rested there, pale and still. Not twitching, not curling. Just flat. Like they'd been placed there deliberately. My throat felt dry. "I'm just gonna leave this here, okay?" No answer. I slowly bent down, laid the pizza box on the floor just outside the door. Tried to back away without turning my back to it. But then... knock. 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 3 slow knocks. From the other side of the door. Right at eye level. I jumped back so hard I nearly tripped over my own feet. My heart was pounding. I looked at the door again. The fingers were gone now. "Why'd you stop?" the voice said. It was still soft. Not angry. Just confused. I delivered it. You've got it. I'm just gonna head out now, alright?" More silence. Then the knob rattled. Not turning. Just rattling, like someone was jiggling it without meaning to open it. I backed up to the end of the hall. Every nerve in my body was screaming now. And that's when something happened that I still don't understand. The bathroom light flicked on. I turned startled, but there was no one there. I stood at the threshold, looking in. The mirror was spiderwebbed with cracks. The faucet was dripping slow, rhythmic drops into a rust-stained sink. There was something written on the mirror, too, barely legible through the grime. I leaned in, squinting. It said, "He's not Delaney." That's when I heard the door behind me open. I spun around so fast I nearly lost my footing on the hallway rug. The door to the bedroom, Delaney's room, or whoever the hell it was, had opened about a foot. Not wide. Just enough to see darkness beyond it. Thick, heavy black, like the room swallowed light. And in that gap, there was a face. Barely visible. Just there, floating in the gloom, like it hadn't leaned forward so much as emerged from the dark itself. It wasn't looking at me. It was looking down at the pizza. A man's face, thin, hollow cheeks, skin like wax paper, eyes sunk so deep it was hard to tell if they were even open. He had a short, messy beard and stringy hair that clung to the sides of his face, like he hadn't bathed in days. But the worst part? He was smiling. Not in a way that said thanks for the food, or glad to see you. No, it was that kind of thin, brittle smile that stretched too far. A smile meant for no one. Like it had been carved onto him, and he was just waiting to be looked at. I couldn't move. He looked up slowly, as if he just remembered I was there. And for one long moment, we stared at each other. His pupils were so dark they almost seemed to spill out of his eyes. And then he whispered something. Not loud. Just a breath. I didn't catch it the first time, so I leaned forward without thinking. What? He repeated it. This time I heard it. You brought it through. That snapped me out of it. I took a step back, heart thudding so loud it felt like it echoed through the hall. I gotta go, I said, fumbling behind me for the front door. His smile didn't change. Then, without another word, the door swung shut again, fast. No slamming sound. No footsteps. Just closed. I turned and bolted. I didn't care about the light switch, the smell, or being quiet. I booked it down the stairs 2 at a time and back to my car. The inside of my chest felt like it was vibrating. I locked the doors the second I got in and peeled out of the lot without checking my mirrors. I didn't look back at the building. Not until I hit the road. And that's when I saw something in my rearview mirror that made my stomach drop. The light in Unit B206, the one that hadn't been on when I got there, was now glowing bright yellow. And standing in the window was that same face. Still smiling. Still watching. I didn't sleep that night. Not even close. I kept trying to tell myself it was just some sick, weird dude playing games. Maybe high. Maybe unwell. Maybe it was Delaney, and he'd just gone off the deep end. But that thing he said, "You brought it through." That line kept looping in my head like a broken record. It wasn't just weird, it was specific. Like there was a second half I hadn't heard yet. And it felt like it was about me. I didn't tell anyone at first. Honestly, I didn't think anyone would believe it. Just imagine calling your boss and saying, "Hey, that delivery? Yeah, I think the guy might be possessed or something." Right. I needed sleep. A reset. Just let it fade like a nightmare. But the next morning, something happened that made that impossible. I walked out to my car around 11 o'clock. Sun was bright, sky was clear. For a second, I almost let myself believe everything was normal. Until I got to the driver's side door. There, tucked under my windshield wiper like a parking ticket, was a single piece of white paper. Folded in half. No envelope. I opened it. Nothing fancy. Just typed text. Centered. No name, no address, no signature. It said, "What comes in through kindness does not leave the same way. Unit B206 remembers you." My hands were shaking. I looked around the lot. There was no one. Just a mom wrangling a toddler into a minivan 2 rows over. Some guy walking his dog across the street. Normal life, totally untouched by the kind of shit that makes your brain spin. I crumpled the paper, got in the car, and drove straight to the pizza shop. Leo was behind the counter as usual, wiping down trays and half watching a soccer game on the tiny wall-mounted TV. I walked in fast, threw my apron on the table, and said, "I'm done." He looked up, surprised. "Done for the day?" "No. Done for good." He blinked. "The hell are you talking about?" "That delivery last night," I said. "The one to the Pines? B206? He paused. I swear, for just a split second, his face changed. Like he knew something. Or remembered something he tried to forget. Then he shrugged it off. "Yeah? What about it?" I leaned in. "That guy. Delaney. Do you know him?" Leo scratched the back of his neck. "We don't get a lot of orders from that building. Maybe once every few months." "You sure that was the name?" "C. Delaney," I said. "It was on the ticket." He looked confused. Then said slowly, "We haven't delivered to that unit in over a year." I stood there, staring at Leo like he just said the sun didn't exist. "What do you mean?" I asked. I had the slip. It said Unit B206, name, C. Delaney. I delivered the pizza. He spoke to me. Leo looked uncomfortable now. He walked over to the small office in the back and waved me in. I followed, still holding that tension in my chest like a coiled wire. He opened a beat-up file cabinet and started thumbing through a drawer labeled deliveries, west route. After a minute or two, he pulled out a manila folder and dropped it on the desk. "This is everything for that address in the past 2 years," he said. I opened it. Maybe 10 order slips total. Most were from 2023. A couple from this year. All of them were to Unit A103, A208, B101, but nothing for Unit B206. Except one. It was clipped to the back. An old, faded slip, yellowed around the edges like it had been buried in there for a while. Dated September 28, 2022. Name, Carson Delaney. Order, medium cheese paid in cash. Notes, please bring it to the door. I'm sick. My stomach turned. I looked up at Leo. That's him. That's the guy. He rubbed his jaw. Yeah. I remember now. That night. We got a call about an hour after the delivery. Cops showed up. Said there'd been a situation. What kind of situation? He paused. Then said something that didn't make any sense. They said the guy had been dead for 2 days before we even brought the pizza. I just stared. Leo leaned against the desk. Apparently, his neighbor called in a welfare check because of the smell. Cops found the body in the bedroom. Doors locked from the inside. But get this, pizza was still warm when they got there. Sitting right next to the body. No one ever figured out how it got inside. He looked at me hard. You sure it was B206? I pulled out my phone, opened the delivery app, and showed him the ticket. B206. C. Delaney. Last night. Right there in black and white. Leo frowned. That's not possible. The unit's been vacant ever since. I swear to God, we haven't gotten another order to that address. Neither of us said anything for a long minute. Then I said what I'd been thinking since I walked in. I think I saw him. Like actually him. Not someone else. Him. Leo exhaled through his nose, slow and quiet. Then said something I'll never forget. You're not the first to say that. I didn't leave the office right away. Leo sat down, rubbing the bridge of his nose like the whole thing had been waiting to resurface. Like dust on a shelf that you try to ignore until it settles in your lungs. What do you mean I'm not the first? I asked. He hesitated, then opened a drawer and pulled out a small, beat-up notebook. It wasn't part of the store's normal records, just a personal thing, probably. He flipped through a few pages, then turned it toward me. On the page were some scribbled notes in blue ink. B206, weird call. No one at the door. Driver said door opened on its own. Girl quit next day, refused to talk about it. Guy left pizza and heard someone say thank you from inside. I felt sick reading it. Leo tapped the page. These were from 2022. Just before we stopped getting orders there. A couple of different drivers had stuff happen. Never twice. Always someone new. And you still send people there? He gave me a look. You don't believe this stuff until it happens to you. He wasn't wrong. I left not long after. Called my roommate and told him I needed a couple days off the radar. I didn't even explain. Just said don't answer the door if you hear knocking. Especially if you didn't order anything. Then I crashed at my brother's place across town. That night, I couldn't stop thinking about what Leo said. About how the body had been in the room with a fresh pizza. About how that voice had called me in. About that thing he said. You brought it through. Brought what through? I needed answers. So the next day, I drove back to the Pines. Yeah. I know. Why the hell would you go back? But the thing is, when something gets its claws in your mind, it doesn't let go until you understand. And part of me hoped maybe it couldn't hurt you in the daytime. Maybe it was just a nighttime thing. That was mistake number 1. I pulled into the same spot I'd parked 2 nights before. No sign of anyone watching this time. The whole place felt drained. Like the air was stale. Not abandoned, exactly, just forgotten. I walked around back, up those same stairs, and down the hallway. This time, I brought my phone and started recording. Not because I thought I'd catch anything on camera, but because I needed proof. Proof that I wasn't losing it. I reached B206. The number plaque was still crooked. Still that faint, sickly smell in the air. But this time, the door was latched shut. I stood there for a long time. Then I knocked. Once. Soft. Nothing. Again. Still nothing. I exhaled, started to turn away, and that's when the door clicked. Again. Just like before. But this time, it didn't open. I leaned closer, phone still recording, and whispered, "I know you're in there." And from the other side, muffled but clear, I heard a voice I hadn't heard before. A woman's voice. She said. It never left. I didn't move. That voice, it didn't sound like the one from before. Not the raspy male whisper that told me to come in. This one was softer. Clearer. Almost like someone trying to warn me. It never left. I crouched down, hard hammering, phone still recording, and pressed my ear gently to the door. I couldn't believe I was doing this, but something about her voice, it pulled me forward like a current. And then I heard something else. Scraping. From inside the walls. Not footsteps. Not voices. It sounded like something heavy was being dragged through plaster and insulation, just inches from where I crouched. Slow, deliberate movements. Like nails clawing through drywall, or something trying to pull itself loose from inside the building itself. I stood up fast, stumbled back, heart racing. Then my phone screen glitched. Not froze, glitched. Like static flashed across the video feed for half a second, distorting the audio and scrambling the image. And when it came back, the app had closed itself. I didn't wait. I bolted back down the stairs. But as I passed the first floor mailboxes, something made me stop. One of the boxes had been forced open. The lock was snapped, hanging half off its hinges. And inside, instead of mail, there was just a stack of old photos. All black and white. Some bent, water-damaged, edges curling with age. I shouldn't have looked through them. I know that now. But I did. The first few were nothing. Shots of the building, trees, a guy standing outside what looked like a 90s model Civic. But then I hit the bottom of the stack. And there was me. Standing at the door to Unit B206. Pizza in hand. Caught mid-knock. The photo was from 2 nights ago, the same night I delivered to Delaney. Same hoodie, same shoes, same exact angle I remember facing when I knocked. But here's the thing. I never saw anyone. No one else was in that hall. I would have noticed. But the photo? It was taken from inside the unit. As if someone had been watching me. Framing me. Waiting. I didn't sleep that night either. I just kept looking at that photo. Me, standing outside the door of Unit B206, framed like a specimen. Like I'd been chosen. Who took it? Why was it left in an open mailbox? And how the hell did they know exactly where I'd be? I tried to tell myself it was a prank. Some elaborate setup. Hidden camera. Photoshop. But it didn't feel like a prank. It felt like a warning. By morning, I was back in my car, sitting in the lot across from the Pines again. Watching the building from a safe distance, windows rolled up, engine running. I wasn't sure what I was waiting for. Maybe for someone to come out. Maybe for some proof I wasn't just unraveling. That's when she found me. A light knock on the passenger window. I jumped, turned, and saw an older woman standing there. Mid-60s, maybe? Thin frame, long gray sweater, big tired eyes. She didn't look dangerous. Just haunted. I cracked the window. You the one asking about 206? She asked. I blinked. Who are you? Name's Ruth, she said. I live in 203. Been here 18 years. I hesitated. Then unlocked the door. She got in, sat quiet for a second, then said, You shouldn't have gone in there. Not again. What do you mean, again? I asked. She looked at me. You're not the first to walk that path. That unit, it draws people. Folks it thinks are open. And when it gets one, it doesn't let go. It remembers. Remembers what? She turned in her seat and fixed me with this dead serious stare. That room was never just a room. People think something died in there. But that's not right. It's where something was born. Or called. Or fed. I don't know. But whatever it is, it doesn't leave. I didn't know what to say. I just listened. I used to hear him at night. She went on. Delaney. Talking to himself. But not like a crazy person. Like he was responding. Like something was talking back through the walls. And then one night, it stopped. The night he died. I said. She nodded. They said he was sick. That it was an overdose. But I know what I heard. Screaming. Furniture banging. Like something was tearing through the drywall. When they finally got in, it was quiet again. Too quiet. I pulled the photo from my glove box and showed it to her. Her hands trembled a little when she held it. Did you take this? I asked. She shook her head. No. But I've seen them before. Seen who? She hesitated, then whispered. The thing that lives in the walls. Ruth gave me the key. I didn't ask for it. She just handed it over. Said it had been Delaney's. Said after he died, management changed the locks, but this key always still worked. Like the room wanted to be opened again. It'll let you in, she told me. But it won't let you leave the same. I should have walked away. Tossed the key down a drain and scrubbed my mind clean of everything tied to that place. But I didn't. That night, I went back to the Pines one last time. Not with pizza. With a flashlight. And a crowbar. The building was quiet, quieter than ever. Like the whole place was holding its breath. I used the key at the door to be 206. It clicked. The latch gave. No resistance. The smell inside was worse now. Like mildew soaked in something dead. That thick rot clung to everything. I stepped in slowly, closed the door behind me. The layout was the same. Same lamp in the corner. Same table, empty now. The rotary phone was gone. The couch sat under a heavy plastic sheet, coated in dust. But the air, it felt wrong. Pressurized. Like the whole room was waiting for me. I walked down the hall again. The photos were gone. Just faint outlines where the frames used to be. At the end, I looked at the bedroom door. It was wide open this time. Inside, the room was empty, stripped bare. No bed. No curtains. Just a single beam of moonlight falling across the floorboards. And there, in the middle of the floor, was a square outline of wood that didn't match the rest. A cutout. A crawlspace hatch. I crossed the room, crouched down, and wedged the crowbar under the edge. My hands were shaking. My chest felt like it was caving in. But I pried it up. The smell that came out of that hole was old. Ancient. It wasn't just rot, it was something deeper. Something that had waited. I pointed my flashlight down into the dark. And I saw it. A body. Curled in the fetal position. Skin tight over bones. Dressed in the same clothes Delaney had been wearing in the photos I'd seen. But that wasn't what made me scream. It was the pizza box. Sitting neatly beside him. Unopened. Untouched. My name was written on the top. Thank you for bringing it through. I dropped the flashlight. Fell back, scrambling out of the room. As I fled down the hallway, I heard it. That soft, rasping voice. Behind me. In front of me. Inside the goddamn walls. Whispering over and over again. Another. 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 I quit town that night. Left the car. Burned the hoodie I was wearing. I don't deliver anything anymore. No food, no packages, not even groceries. Sometimes I still get a knock on my door at night. No one's ever there when I open it. But sometimes, the air smells like pepperoni. And I swear, I can hear the box breathing.